live recording this right now. It is Friday, February 13th. I don't like that. I just realized it was Friday, February 13th. That's how I was doing that. We've got Cole Adams here, KarterKast College Basketball Show. Cole, welcome back to the show, man.
Man, it's great to be back. I haven't been back on this season, but we are going to make this work. We've got a lot to discuss because we haven't talked in a while, but love being on with you, man. Hope everything's well, and thanks for inviting me.
As always, everything's great. Happy to have you back on. We've got a ton to get to. I mean, I was saying off air before. I was saying off air before. It's like we have to recreate the Walter Clayton Kemba Walker clip, one of the greatest callbacks we've ever done on a podcast or anything. So we'll talk Kemba candidates in the show. We have a ton to get to. Let's just get right into it. Caleb Wilson breaks his left hand, fractured. Carolina announces the timetable is a little wonky right now. Caleb Wilson's on Twitter saying, I'll be back. I'm playing this year. This is not the end of the story for me. There's two parts of this discussion I want to hint towards. Let's start with the Caleb side first. First off, this sucks. Even as a Duke guy, This sucks seeing Caleb Wilson. I love watching this kid. He plays so freaking hard, and it's so refreshing watching a guy just love his time in college like you were saying off air.
Yeah. No, he really does love. He's all in on trying to make the environments better for Carolina games, trying to get everybody to wear the same color, that type of thing, which I don't think a Carolina guy has really done that ever. So that's been fun to see because it seems like he's really passionate about, because he's probably only going to be there this season, which is why he wants to come back, obviously, because I mean, what a devastating injury though. But he loves playing college basketball in North Carolina. So that's exciting, because sometimes you see these freshmen come in and it's like, do they really want to be here? That type of thing, where it feels like Caleb for sure wants to be there, which is why he's going to try his hardest to get back. I mean, I don't know. It's his left hand. I feel like he can probably come back and still make some magic happen. I mean, he's not going to be as productive as he was, just clearly from a shooting perspective. But I definitely think his presence on the court, I mean, you'll take that even if he's not playing at 100%. But yeah, my heart breaks for him, because obviously he really wants to be out there, which is why I think he's gonna get back out there. I think he'll try to get back out there by at least March Madness. I mean, you were saying though, you might think it's a little earlier. I don't know. What do you think, Karter?
I think he's back for the Duke Carolina game. I think he's like, I don't care. I'll take whatever ibuprofen, Advil, Patrick Mahomes horse pill that he takes at halftime of the Super Bowl to fix a sprained ankle. It doesn't matter. I'm making sure I get out there and I'm playing ball against Duke. Well, to your point about the Caleb Wilson thing, about him enjoying his time at Carolina, once again, I want to emphasize how much this absolutely blows for Carolina, and I'll get to that side of it. But with Caleb Wilson, I've mentioned this on a couple other pods, that it is the first time since kind of Harrison Ingram at Carolina where I fully feel like a Carolina guy is truly taking pride in wearing a Carolina jersey for the first time since really the Roy Williams era. I wouldn't even say that was the case in their 22 Final Four run with Baycott, Caleb Love, and those guys. Those guys were really talented players. They were awesome, but they didn't have this same level of pride and playing for North Carolina as Caleb does. Yeah, and I mean, even this team feels vintage like Roy Williams, because they figured out their big spots, and they've definitely been a better rebounding team. So it kind of reminds me of the Roy teams for sure. But it's just nice to see guys care. And that's why this injury sucks. This would be a beautiful transition into our next segment, but I still want to keep talking about Caleb Wilson.
Okay, yeah. Oh, we'll get to the next segment. There's lots to discuss. But anyway,
but keep going. My bad.
Yeah. I my heart just breaks for the kid, because it's he really wants to be out there. But I'm just I don't know. I just feel like a hand like that, I feel like they're gonna let it heal up until at least maybe the ACC tournament, but I don't know how serious it is, because it just happened yesterday. So and still nothing's really kind of come out what type of timetable that would be.
Yeah, they're gonna keep that indefinitely. I feel like college basketball does that more than any other sport, where it's just we don't have exact timetables. We're just gonna say indefinitely, and then you're randomly gonna get a report one week. They're like, oh, Caleb's practicing again, and he's looking to return. On the basketball side of things, I don't think this can be emphasized how big of a loss this is. I think every Carolina fans know this, where it's oh my gosh, if you go back and watch that Duke Carolina game, without Caleb Wilson's unbelievable performance and shot making, especially from the mid range in that game in that first half, Carolina's getting the doors blown out, and that game's a 20-point game if it wasn't for Caleb keeping them in that one.
Absolutely.
And so going forward, I think this is where Hubert Davis is we're going to really find out what kind of coach Hubert Davis is, where, yes, he'll have the asterisks and the excuse of, yes, we don't have Caleb Wilson, but if he's able to come out and win a bunch of these ACC games when they have a decently tough schedule coming up right now, like they got to play NC State coming up, they got to play Duke later on in the season and everything.
Yeah, that's another one.
Louisville, exactly. This is when Hubert's going to figure out, people are going to figure out, like, okay, like maybe Hubert, like, okay, maybe we feel good about him. Maybe it's not just Caleb Wilson saved his job for him, because if guys like Derek Dixon and Seth Trimble step up in a real way, Henry Vasar, like if they can come out and show that they can maintain their seed line without Caleb Wilson, just keep things afloat, then that gives me a lot more confidence in Hubert going into next season and the years beyond. But
for sure.
Now Carolina's in a tricky situation where right now they're, after the Miami game, they're probably a 5-6 seed roughly. And if things go real south while Caleb's out, you could end up in the disastrous 8-9 spot and have to face a 1 seed like Arizona in the second round.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. Which, I'm not trying to transition to our next topic, but it's like, there's another team that's playing without their star player, and it's like they've been able to figure out how to play without him. It's kind of even like a different team in a way. So it's like, and that just goes to show how good of the coach of that team is. But it's like, is Hubert Davis going to like finally make a statement here and prove that he is, the guy? Because there's been, some rumblings, maybe whether it was last year. It's like, is he really like the guy that we want leading us for a very long time, obviously, after going off like the Final Four? But I mean, I still think they'll be able to rattle off some wins in there. I think that this team has some heart to it for sure. I just feel like the Miami game, that was just a letdown because obviously the chaos that was the Duke game. I mean, like you can only expect a letdown after something like that because that was just such an all-time like college basketball game. But I still think they're still going to make the tournament, but it's like they don't want to end up obviously playing a 1 seed for sure, even like a 2 seed. I think they can be better than that.
Yeah, you can. There's some wiggle room in these 2 seeds where it's like I'm not that upset playing that 2 seed in the round of 32. But you ideally you got to be, if you fall to 8-9, it's your ceiling's there because how good these 1 seeds are right now. But let's move on. Let's talk about the Darren Peterson situation and Kansas as a whole. I had a clip that I put out earlier this week where it talks about where I think Bill Self should be outside of Fred Hoiberg. I think he's got to be coach of the year right now for the situation he's been dealt with this team, where Darren Peterson, is he one of the most polished freshmen I've ever seen play the game of basketball? Absolutely. But the drama behind Darren Peterson, whether he's going to play, not going to play, dealing with that crap with agents and his camp off the court is a disaster. And yet he still kept all these other dudes super bought in. And to be honest, I don't think the other dudes, like they're good players and everything, but they're not over the top special players. Like there is such limited shot creation on the offensive end. It's just that they play so freaking hard on both ends that they're able to still win these games even without Peterson. Just talk about the Kansas situation in general and your thoughts on Darren Peterson and everything.
Yeah, it's really just a fascinating story because at the end of the day, it seems like the team's fine with kind of whatever's happening. It's like you would feel like a locker room could be lost in something like this. But yet at the end of the day, Bill Self just has them ready no matter what. And even like both versions of the team kind of play a little bit differently because it feels like when they play without Darren, it's more so team basketball. They know how to play with each other. But when Darren's in there, he kind of controls everything, which is fine because like when he's in the game, he just has different levels of vision than any player really in college basketball. So he can kind of orchestrate things, that no other player can. So it's like, the situation is annoying. It has to be, obviously, if you're a Kansas fan. But it's like, I still am fine with like what's happening because Bill Self just knows how to win. So it's like, is really this maybe we're making this a bigger deal sometimes? I don't know. Because Bill Self, he definitely because he had a press conference, I think yesterday, where he was talking about how, all of these things that have happened to Darren, whether that's like the hamstring, the cramping, the ankle, being sick. It's these are things that it's just bad luck. So it's like, he's sick. He's sticking up for his player clearly through all of this, which I think is honestly pretty admirable because sometimes things don't always, that's not always like something that happens, coach sticking up for the player like that. So that's been like cool to see from a Bill Self perspective. I mean, just he's such a pro, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
the cramps is where I draw the line, to be
Yeah, I
honest. Like,
know. I agree because
yeah, I mean, we see Paolo Banchero get cramps against Gonzaga. We got two trainers just, beating the crap out of his quads and his hamstring, being like, no, we're getting you back on that court. He's chugging pickle juice, orange juice, and eating a banana. Like, they were making sure he gets back on that court and doing everything to help his cramps. Darren Peterson was like, no, like he was almost refusing treatment at that point, where it's like, okay, clearly he is being told from his camp that, hey, the second you start feeling anything, don't play. And that's been my problem with this whole thing is, one, if you're going to, you talk about the NBA draft discussion, it's, that kind of behavior is a bit encouraged in the NBA, honestly. And will that kind of stuff continue? Besides the point, don't really care. That's another discussion for next season when he's the Sacramento King. But for right now, my problem is it bothers me when these guys are way too, and I get it, the long-term money, the long-term future of this stuff, but it gets to a point where you're way too focused on being the number one pick in the draft than enjoying your time and being the guy at Kansas and what that can ultimately do for you in your career. Because let's say the NBA doesn't go well for you and things happen where you want to be able to have that college time you can fall back on. I mean, look at these guys who had one season wonders at their college basketball careers and what this has done for their career. They can always go back to their college, university, and in some capacity and be, an ambassador or something like that to them. And you when you do this kind of stuff, you can burn these bridges with fans and eventually. And look, it helps that they've been able to win without him at times and like beating Arizona. Because if he wasn't playing, if he was sitting out these games and they still lost, I think that's when you'd see this major uproar. And I think that's eventually going to happen because they're going to lose some of these games in the Big 12 when he doesn't play. And then that's when I worry. It's like, okay, will Kansas fans truly turn on him at that point?
Yeah, no, that's a very valid opinion. I mean, I'm also pretty nice about how I feel about the situation because I mean they do keep winning, so it's like, you know what? If Bill Self is comfortable with this, he's the one that's in control of the everything. Then so be it. I mean, that's just the situation that they're being dealt. I do think that he's you're not gonna be 100% every single game for all of the 40 minutes that you play, that's where I'm getting frustrated from that type of perspective, like you mentioned with the cramping, because it's if you're not going to feel perfect the entire game. So it's once you don't start feeling well, you just have to push through that. And clearly he hasn't shown the ability to do that. And I thought that, they were going to start getting things going because, he kind of came back recently. They were starting to play really well. And then, he sits out the end of the BYU game, which was weird. But then he comes back and, wins the game against Texas Tech. And then he sits out Arizona. So it's but yeah, Bill Self just cool as ever. And they just keep winning. But I mean, their schedule upcoming. I mean, they play Iowa State on Saturday. That's a huge game because that's at Iowa State. And then they obviously still have Houston. They still have Arizona again at Arizona. So, and then not just that, but the Big 12 tournament. Is he going to play the Big 12 tournament?
Is he going to play on a glass court?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's such a good point. And then it's just seeing Caleb Wilson, which is what I wanted to mention earlier. Somebody that's I will get back out there no matter what. I don't care if I have a broken hand. I mean, it's a broken hand, It's not like you're just dealing with an ankle sprain or, cramping, stuff like that. He's trying to get his back out there. And then not just him, for example, you see AJ DeBonza play every game 40 minutes sometimes, and he's just always out there. And then Cam Boozer, who just, I mean, he tears it up every single night. So it's just you're seeing these other freshmen, not even have any sort of problems.
Yeah.
So that's what makes this story kind of even a little bit more toxic because all these other freshmen that are going to be drafted right next to Darren, they're not really having any sort of problems.
No, and they're doing everything in their power to stay on the court despite that stuff. Even in the early part of the Big 12, AJ was dealing with the flu and he was still playing and everything. And, it's just It's just weird. It's just I don't like it because this kind of stuff is why I dislike the NBA and where I love college basketball. Is because
Absolutely.
when that's college basketball's number one thing it has going for them right now is anytime you turn on any college basketball game. I mean, last night I turned on Purdue, Fort Wayne, Green Bay just on the TV, and every single player on that court is going 100%. And then you turn on a random ACC game, SMU, Virginia Tech. They're going 100% no matter what. Duke, Michigan, 100% no matter what. And that's the problem is I turn on a Wizards Pelicans game, they're going 20%. And that's the best thing about college basketball. And that's what really frustrates me to no end with the Darren Peterson situation, where it's like, look, you can say, even if the injuries are, everything's legit and he's going through stuff and everything. Okay, I understand that. But even then, you can tell he's not giving it his all to be at Kansas. And that's where it can create this slippery slope of like, okay, what's the next number one overall recruit going to try and do? Like when, so-and-so comes into Kansas next year, are they going to try and pull this card because they want to be the number one pick in the draft? And then is it a copycat situation? Like the first guy to sit out a bowl game in college football, do they start doing that? And
I know, and that's like the situation we don't want to end up with, because we can even argue that we're different than college football because guys aren't sitting out like those type of games.
Yeah, and I think where we're really gonna find out some things is obviously the NCAA tournament. Like if he sits out an NCAA tournament game and it's like flu-like symptoms or whatever, it's like, dude, you can
even
be
if they play
like on.
Even if they play a 16 seed, it's like he still needs to be out there. That's what I don't want to see is like something like that.
Like if you're throwing up on the court, you're still playing. Like it's the NCAA freaking tournament. Man.
Yeah.
But if I see him sitting out the Big 12 tournament, because it's very easy to convince, because that's where conference tournaments are going to get weird in the future, where it's like eventually conference tournaments are going to have to be NIL funded, where it's like, okay, the winner of this tournament these players are going to get X amount of money, because eventually, yes, it helps seeding, but now that the selection committee doesn't really value games that happen after Thursday at this point, it's like, okay, well, why am I going to try this hard in the Big 10 tournament or the Big 12 tournament when the last two rounds really don't matter with seeding as much, other than getting the automatic qualifier? And yet the real thing is just a week away. I'm not going to risk injury. I'm curious to see if he sits out the Big 12 tournament. Then I think we're going to know some things.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm still just the optimist through all of this. But that's just me by nature. I'm like, well, if Bill Self's comfortable with this, I mean, even if he's not, and he's more so just presenting it in his press conferences, I still think that this is the perfect like coach and team to like handle a situation like this. I will say, like, if that's the silver lining in any of this, I think this is like the perfect, because they've got like some mid-major guys that they play really hard. I don't really think they've got egos there, so it's like I think they can kind of handle the drama with all of this, and they've proven they've been able to. But I am curious to see if they do start slipping up, if things actually do take a turn, like you've mentioned.
Yeah, and that's just a credit to Bill Self, like you're saying. Like,
yeah,
I was convinced that he was, and like you get told things and everything. Like I was convinced that he was going to retire at the end of the year. This was it. He was done after this, and maybe that's still the case. Maybe he ends up retiring, whatever. That's besides. Like, it felt like he was a bit like, okay, like, this was fun, Bill Self. The Hunter Dickinson years weren't great to you, and maybe Hunter Dickinson almost sent him into retirement single-handedly, but that's besides the point. And then he has this massive turnaround, so massive credit to him.
Sure.
Let's move on. Let's talk about some other teams. Maybe Kansas does get mentioned in this list right here, but I haven't truly gone through yet on this show and just gone down the line and said, okay, is this team a national title contender? Yes or no? So I have the top odds for the national title pulled up right now. Michigan's the favorite at plus 450. I'm just going to go down the line of 10 to 20 teams, and we just go yes or no if they're a national title contender.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
Michigan, Arizona, Duke. I feel like those are all yeses, right?
Yeah, I would say yeses. However, I feel like I would have Michigan a little bit lower than Arizona. I feel like Arizona has looked better overall. But I will say Michigan has actually started to like turn back on their, dominating teams a little bit, winning games they probably shouldn't have. I mean, in January, I was like a little iffy on them, but they've definitely turned around in February. So, but I still think Arizona would be like my 1-1 if I was like going to draft teams.
Yeah, I think that's fair because I'm hot and cold with this Arizona team because I do think their lack of 3-point explosiveness will affect them. They can still knock down threes. They're really efficient still. I'm not discrediting them. It's eventually there's going to be a team that does get hot against you, and how do you respond to that? And I think like I don't even take much stock into the game at Allen Fieldhouse. It's like that crowd was unbelievable. Probably the best crowd we're going to
win that game.
Yeah, like we have not seen a crowd like that in college basketball this season, or maybe in the past few seasons. It was that insane. So you're not going to be you're going to be playing in a cold gym in Buffalo probably in the NCAA tournament. So I think they're going to be fine. Their model's sustainable. I think I agree. I would put Arizona and Duke above Michigan, but I'm so excited to watch that game against Duke, Michigan next Saturday.
Oh, I know.
In DC.
Like nobody's talking about it still. It's like I can't believe that's coming up.
But in the way, like I still think both of these teams are going to be 1 seeds, but that game, like that is for a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. You are locked in. If you have a neutral site win against either of these teams, like you are locked in as a 1 seed at that point.
Yeah, and so late into the season, you don't get like a game from November you would see this late. So that's what's so exciting about it. I'm very, very excited. I mean, that's the most anticipated game I feel like coming up.
Next Saturday in college basketball is just like cancel everything.
Fantastic.
It's unbelievable. Moving on. Houston.
Right. Oh, for sure, man. Like I think that I'll be honest. I think that might be my pick if I was going to make a bracket today.
Wow.
Is Houston. Yeah. I'm just such a big fan of Kingston Fleming. So but like for sure, that's for sure. Like, absolutely a national title contender. What do you think?
I think so. And because last year, I would say no because I think that style of play Houston plays where it's muck it up, where if you do the muck it up thing, eventually a team's going to get hot. Can you respond?
Yeah.
But they just have too much talent on this roster where, they can respond. And they showed it last year. They had a chance. They had the shot to win the game against Florida. Like Emmanuel Sharp had it in his hands right there. So you can't say no, obviously, but Houston's definitely a national title contender. This is where things get interesting because about a month ago, I would have said no chance in hell this team is a national title contending team, but they're 5th right now according to the sports books. Florida at 12-1, are they a national title contender?
Yeah, I think they figured out their rotations, and they're 3 bigs. I mean, like they just attack and attack and attack and attack and attack. So it's like it was their guard play that had me concerned because Fland and Xavier and Lee weren't like playing great, and they were expected to be a better shooting team than they've been. But they're playing through their bigs, and like I don't really think anybody can kind of match them. So it's like I think they probably will just continue to run through teams. So I would say I think they're back into title contention.
This one was just such a struggle for me.
That's a hard one.
I was so out on them because once again that backcourt is just so hot and cold, and I understand that. But then you can say, okay, well the backcourt's hot and cold, the front court's amazing. You could say the same thing about Duke, where Cam Boozer, Gongba, and Malik Brown, those guys initiate all the offense, and then they play through the bigs. The point guard play, it's fine. It's not going to take you over the top in any of these games. So if you believe in Duke, you almost have to believe in Florida, in my opinion. So
I would agree. That's a good take.
The issue is I don't think the Duke guards will I think the Florida guards can just straight up lose them games. And I don't know if the Duke guards can do that for them. That might be a terrible way to say that. I really thought coming into this I was going to say no, but I think you have to put them in there because I also don't think this year we were doing pods last year where it's like, look, like there's 4 to 5 teams in college basketball that can win it, and after that, it's the list just drops off a heavy cliff. I think there are so many teams this year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, even not just that, like we're doing title contenders, but even seeing like some of these teams make the Final Four, I feel like we could see some teams that are ranked maybe in like the 20s. On KenPom, for example, to like the 30 range, make the Final Four. I think that we'll get back to something like that. I don't think that we're going to see all like 1 seeds and 2 seeds make the Final Four.
I agree. Illinois.
Yeah, that's another interesting one. I'll be interested to see with Boswell coming back, like if they take an even bigger jump because he's supposed to come back within like their next game or two. They did just lose to Wisconsin. Then who did they lose to? Michigan State, I think.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of interested to see with them. I'm still not sure.
I'm
I'm
going.
I'm
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 going
a little,
yes.
okay. Fair enough.
I'm
Fair
going
enough.
yes on the Illini. Like I now Keaton Wagler. I think the NBA discussion. I think that's a little bit different. I think his size and or his quick twitch like lack. He's not the most explosive dude. And I think that's kind of the difference when you get into the NBA discussion. But I don't care about
Yeah.
the NBA. We're
I
talking
just
college ball here. We're
yeah.
talking about him dropping 34 in an
She's
overtime game
done.
against
Yeah.
Wisconsin. And I know he struggled against Michigan State, but I'm okay. I think Illinois is a
Okay.
title contender.
Fair enough.
Kansas,
Oh, I think for sure. And in fact,
really?
yeah, I really do, man. I just feel like I thought they kind of had it going when Darren was coming back and like they were starting to play as like a team. And I even thought they were kind of playing a little bit differently. But then it's like, we throw a wrench in this because he it's sick. So it's like, but I'm still a believer, man. I'm still a believer. I feel like I've seen enough with like how they play as a team. And then just inserting a player like that, like if we're gonna like rank players to take in a draft, I feel like Darren would probably be like maybe one or two. You know what I'm saying? So it's if you can insert that on a team, I'm still gonna believe in Bill Self because yeah, there's past Bill Self teams like you mentioned earlier with Dickinson where they just looked like such a mess, and it's like I don't know, does Bill Self still really have his A game? And I feel like this team is absolutely like disproven those type of things. And I feel like he might have like one last run on him to get to at least another Final Four. And I feel like this would be a team that can do that. And if you can make it there, I think they can win a championship. So yes, sorry, a lot.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there with Kansas. I still
Fair
worry
enough.
about the things outside of Peterston on the offensive end. They play so hard defensively, where that's going to be able to not that.
No,
If
they'll
you can
keep
play
them.
that well on defense, usually, I mean, Tony Bennett has been upset quite a bit in the past. When he was at Virginia, but
Yeah, that's
when
a
you
little
play
different.
that hard, your floor is there.
Yeah.
But the Darren Peterson thing, I just if I see him
Hey,
play consistently, I'm in on them as a national title
I
team. But
don't think you're
until
wrong,
then,
man.
I yeah, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Fair,
Moving on. UConn.
yeah, they've been interesting. It's like they have not turned on, like the Hurley teams. They'll flip the switch. They still haven't flipped it. And I'm like, when are they going to actually flip this? They lose to St. John's. Just through conference play, they've just had some close games that's like, I don't know. I'm still waiting for that. And until I see that, I'm going to have to say no because I just haven't seen them flip it. So, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm going no as well. I'm like, I
Yeah.
understand I've been an anti-Hurley guy in the past. I still think he's probably the best coach in college basketball right now.
Oh, for
But
sure. I would agree.
him, Shy, herself, like these. I mean, Tommy Lloyd's done a great job this year. Dusty May, but besides that point, yeah, I think you're right. I think you nailed it with the in the Big East when it's the weakest Big East I think I've ever seen to this point.
Oh yeah,
They just
yeah.
haven't turned it on and dominated opponents. Like I know Duke didn't win the title last year, but you saw this Duke team in a weak ACC just go in and pound opponents. And
Mhm.
yeah, they beat Xavier and Creighton, but like they're going down to the wire against Seton Hall, and they're just struggling these games. They just haven't been able to go over the top, and they feel like they're an Elite Eight team to me. They feel like not in style of play or anything, but in the same stature of where I feel like they feel like that Tennessee team of last year, where Tennessee was just rock solid. You felt like there was a ceiling to that Tennessee team. They won a lot
Yeah.
of big games. They were always there when you talk about national title contender stuff,
Mhm.
always in the top 10, but you never truly felt like they were like, okay, they are in that same group with Auburn, Duke, Florida, Houston. And I
Yeah.
kind of feel that way with this UConn team where I think they're a solid Elite Eight team.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think I would have to agree with that. I think that's a solid take. But
Iowa
again, they
State.
could they could hit the flip. They could flip the switch. And when that happens, I'll be glad to say yes, title contender. But
If
I
I could,
haven't
I would gladly like to buy any Braylon Mullen stock people are selling. Please.
yeah.
Please.
And that's such a great like player that they can, play through that's has such unlimited potential to where they can still, flip it and get it going. But until then, I'm gonna have to say no.
Iowa State.
Yeah, that's another one where I feel like there's a ceiling to that. I mean,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I think that like that's another like Elite Eight team.
Okay. I'm gonna say
Okay.
yes, but
All right.
I'm not hell bent on this. I'm teetering right now. Um, I just think when you have a point guard like Lipsy who can control the game
Yeah.
and can control the tempo of a hectic NCAA tournament game, I think that can go a long way. And you
Yeah,
have
they've got great
Jefferson.
senior leadership with Jefferson and Lipsy and
Yeah, and then Momcilovic is
Yeah.
balling. I mean, he's shooting 52% from three this year. He's 54, 90, and 52. I mean, that is stupid percentages right now. Like
Yeah.
his 3-point shooting volume, getting the stats pulled up right here, he's averaging 7.5 3-point attempts per game, and he's shooting 52% from three in college, where college has even less spacing than the NBA. Like,
Oh yeah.
these are
Yeah.
stupid numbers right now.
I know. I just feel like there's such a when it is on, they will blow a team out. But I'm curious to see a team that like really locks them up defensively, like that plays really hard. Because I don't think they've played Houston yet, so it's like I'm interested to see them play like a team like Houston. And
Yeah.
then I don't think they've played Arizona either, which is like we're at like the worst time to do something like this because we're gonna find out so much in the next like 2 weeks. So it's like I feel like if we did this in 2 weeks from now, our answers would be completely different. You know?
I think that's a great point because I think you nailed it because you look at Iowa State so far this season in the Big 12, the teams that are like locked down defensively, Kansas, TCU wants to muck it up. Jamie Dixon gets things weird. They struggled against those teams. I mean, Kansas blew them out the door. Like it was bad.
Yeah.
But then when you're playing
Same
against
with
teams
Cincinnati.
like
Cincinnati is a top defensive team. They were just terrible offensively, and they lost to them. So it's like that's where I get worried with Iowa State because it's like if a team makes it ugly, and even though Otzelberger is such a great coach and like you know they're not afraid of a street fight, but it's like I just feel like there's a ceiling. That's just my opinion.
we're gonna find out because they have to close the season with Kansas, Houston, at BYU, at Utah, Texas Tech, at Arizona, and then home Arizona State. Like you have two gimme wins with Arizona State and Utah, and then you could be an outside of the home games they're probably favored in like that is a gauntlet to close the year. And like you said, in 2 weeks, I think our answers could be different. Moving on, I'm going to name 3 teams in a row, and then you pick out which team. So Purdue, Texas Tech, Nebraska.
Oh, that's such a tough one. I'm still buying Nebraska. I know they have not played like great recently, but I mean, their losses. I mean, they lost to Purdue, which like, you know, they were able to come back in that game. And then not just that, the Michigan game that they lost, they should have won the game. They led the entire time, basically. So yeah, they're slipping up a little bit. They still haven't like figured out. Like Rink Moss hasn't like played as great as he did earlier in the season. Braden Frager, their like freshman that's coming off the bench, he was hurt a little bit. I feel like that's one of those teams where they'll get it figured out. So I'm gonna actually take Nebraska of those 3. What do you think, Karter?
Out of those 3, I'm going Texas Tech.
Okay.
I'm very, very, very bullish on this Texas Tech team, despite some of the defensive inefficiencies and everything. I think this is the best time to buy Texas Tech stock because they're 40-1 right now to win the title. And
wow.
They have a 3-headed monster. I worry about their depth come March, but I worry about every Big 12 team's depth in March. Everybody plays 6 guys, 7 guys, and the bench production's like I think bench points are across the entire Big 12 is like an average of like 5 points per game. Nobody plays their bench. Nobody on the bench is doing anything for these teams at the moment. But I do want to buy Nebraska too, though, because you talk about that Michigan game where Rink didn't even play in that Michigan game, and they were in that game. It didn't, and that is when that was my test, and that was like the litmus test for me with this Nebraska team, where it's like, okay, in the non-con, you had some easy games, you had a easy schedule for the most part, like. Great, it's cool you're undefeated. Let's see you against these big dogs. And the way they went in at Michigan and should have won that game.
For sure.
I was like, okay, you belong. You are in this conversation right now just the way they play basketball. They play basketball how it's supposed to be played. It's so unselfish. Everybody's moving.
Mhm.
They're just like a much more talented of those old Princeton teams where it's just
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah,
it's just like it's everybody's moving off the ball. Everyone's unselfish. And everyone's kind of got a little something, a little crap to them, a little FU to them, where it's like, hey man, like I'm not scared of Yaxel Lindenberg. I'm not scared of Braden Smith. Like I don't care. I'm playing against this NBA dude. I'm in on the Cornhuskers. Like,
yeah, that's why I'm okay with them. Like, slipping a little bit here and there, and let people jump off the ship there. I'm fine with that.
Well, it's not like they're losing these like ridiculous. It's not like they're losing to Oregon. They're losing to Purdue, Illinois, at Michigan.
They're losing like 2-point games. So,
yeah, I'm in on Nebraska now. 6 straight, I think, can be tough, but at the same time, they just play so well. Yeah, they play so freaking well.
And they're a good defensive team too. But let's talk about Purdue real quick, because it's like that was a team I came into this season like, all right, coming off the Elite Eight, or the Sweet 16, they almost beat Houston. I think that they'll bring their guys back. TKR will be great. And it's just like TKR hasn't been like awesome for them. And it's like they're struggling in games that they just really shouldn't. And it's just, I still don't know what to think about them. That might be the hardest team for me to figure out, because I just came into the season with high expectations and they haven't really lived up to them. But I still don't want to like give up on them completely. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on Purdue?
I'm out. Fully out. Defensively, they are a mess. They are a disaster defensively, where if they go against one of these front courts like Florida or Duke, they're going to get, or Arizona, they're going to get toasted. It's going to be, and they're going to have to rely on like guys like Lawyer or Braden Smith to just get super hot from 3. And I just don't see that happening for this Purdue team.
Yeah, they just haven't been able to rely on that. So it's like, and that's a tough one.
But yeah, I'm buying Nebraska. I think they're Final Four caliber, maybe not quite national title. Texas Tech full on national title contender, and I've already placed money on Texas Tech to win the national title. Purdue, I'm fully out. I think they feel like a Sweet 16 out, people are going to be like really shocked when they lose in the round of 32 or something like that, and they get a bad matchup. So moving on, I'm going to keep going 3, and we'll do a couple more rounds. Michigan State, sounds Gonzaga, good. Arkansas, or any of those national title contenders for you?
Arkansas.
Okay,
I think that would be the one of the group. Yeah, just because like Acuff, I mean, like that's the type of guy that can just take over a game. So I think that'd be like my pick of that bunch. So.
Okay, I would lean Arkansas in that group. I'm gonna go no with all of them. I'm selling every ounce of Gonzaga stock you could ever buy. I do not believe in this Gonzaga team. Mark Few, great coach. Mark Few, best bet in the tournament to win the first weekend. Great. I just don't see it. I don't think they can go over the top. They've played a fairly nice, easy schedule, and you can say they played Kentucky earlier in the year. That's a different Kentucky team than what we're seeing now. But you go against your toughest opponent in a team like Michigan. They blow the doors off you. Portland, you're on the road at Portland. I understand it's tough to get up for WCC games like that once you've played non-con teams and you're a team like Gonzaga. But at the same time, like you can't lose to a team like Portland, and they're struggling against teams like San Fran and in Seattle University. So I just don't see it for this Gonzaga team. I think there's a real hard ceiling. I will be fading them heavily in the tournament. Michigan State, great, but defensively, Tom Izzo, always a good. Just the offensive end, I just don't think they have enough to get it done.
Fair enough.
I'll go quickly here. St. John's, Alabama, Louisville, Vandy, Tennessee, North Carolina. Any of those national title contenders for you?
Oh, man. I'd say maybe St. John's. Maybe, but I just don't know if they have like enough guard play to, I mean, they've turned their season around completely. So that's been like exciting, because I didn't want them to have a disappointing season, because I think that that's a great, atmosphere with Madison Square Garden. It's like one of those teams where it's like you want them to be good for the sport. So it's like, but yeah, I don't know, man. This is where it gets tough, like getting a title team from like this low, because I mean, you'd have to hope for like a 2014 type of season where you just get a team that like a 7 seed winning the championship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you think from this group?
I would lean St. John's out of that group, but like Louisville and Alabama and Vandy defensively, I just don't. They'd have to get so hot in the tournament where they're just just purely outscoring teams. They have the talent, but it's just
Well, Louisville started. I mean, they're starting to get their mojo back. I mean, the other night they just blew the doors off North Carolina. Yeah, so it's like I think that I could see them being like a potential one, but that's just again back to the age-old. Like we're gonna have to just wait the next 2 weeks and just kind of see how these teams continue to play. So.
Quickly, last bit here: BYU, Virginia, Kentucky.
I would say BYU. Kentucky has started to play better too, so it's like. But I don't think Kentucky's a title team. I just think BYU you'd have to say they are because, who's better than AJ DeBonsa every time you walk on the floor? I mean, I don't think that you're really going to see anybody else besides like maybe, Peterson or Boozer. So.
Yeah, BYU out of that list just because of the talent alone. And
yeah,
if they lock in defensively, then BYU, they like.
And if they can just figure out their first halves, you know what I'm saying?
You're preaching to the choir here.
No kidding.
If they figure out the first halves and then lock it, not let people blow by you defensively, but that's kind of a tough thing to fix come February 13th into this season. But if you're looking for like deep cuts, I think like. If you're looking at BYU's probably the only one I would look at seriously at, one of these super long shot ones to win the title.
Yeah.
I like Virginia a lot. I just think there's a ceiling to them, and I think they're a Sweet 16 team. But I don't think they'll be able to win 6 straight in March. So.
I mean, if we're looking at a crazy long shot, maybe St. Louis, but it's
ooh, okay.
I mean, but that's like that's not something I'm putting anything on. That's just
I love it.
I mean, you never know. With a Final Four in Indianapolis, you could see some magic happen, see a mid-major go and play for a title. I mean, I don't think they'd win in the title, but you never know. Maybe St. Louis could be like Butler of 2010 and make their way to the championship game. Who knows?
We'll see. Moving on. We were going to mention some Cinderellas and everything, but we went a little long on the national title contenders. So just quickly, just one question about Cinderellas this year. I talked about this with my guy, Shoot the Rock. Great follow. Make sure to go follow him if you're listening.
Yeah, I know him.
Will Cinderellas be back this year in March Madness? Because last year, everybody was whining and complaining. It's like, there's no upsets. These top teams are too good. NIL, the portal's ruining the sport. These mid-majors, they're not able to, get the guys in that can actually compete with the NIL teams and everything. So just easy aside, will Cinderellas be back?
I have to say, yeah, man. I think they'll be back. I don't know. What did you guys talk about with that?
So I think so because I just don't think the teams are on that elite level like they were last year. Like we were hoping for, a high point over Purdue last year, but like that Purdue team was really, really freaking good as they were a 5 seed last year.
I mean, they could have been in the championship game because they almost beat Houston. So it's like
exactly,
that type of team's not going to lose a high point.
And then you look at some of these other like potential 5 seeds right now. It's like 6 seeds. Like a team like Clemson, who could be a 5 seed come March Madness. They are they did get upset last season against McNeese State, so maybe a bad example. But like, that's a team where if you're a mid-major, you're kind of licking your chops going, okay, we can go beat that Houston team. Like, I don't think there is that super, super elite level. I think we do see a couple of these Cinderella mid-majors go to the Sweet 16 this year like we didn't see last year. So it bothers me when people see 1 year of the NCAA tournament and just think, oh, that's how it's going to be going forward. Tournament's this, tournament's that. It's like, no, it's just one bad year. Like this next following year, things are going to be fine. So I think Cinderellas will fully be back.
I agree, man. I agree.
Let's go to dark horse teams real quick. We did this last year. These are the teams we kind of mentioned a few long shots and everything where I'm not saying this team's going to win the national title or anything, but kind of dark horse teams to make a run to the Final Four. Who do you have written down?
Well, we did go through them with the championship teams. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm still believing in Nebraska because I just feel like here's my example. I tell people with Nebraska, if they were an 8 or like a 7 to 10 seed, that's a team for sure that gets to the Final Four because they just play a certain style of basketball. It's hard to prepare for. They all play together, so it's like they move like a mid-major team in a way. So it's like, but they were just tracking too high. Like they were projected to be a 1 to 2 seed. So it's like if they slip up a little bit more, I think for sure they could be a dark horse team that could potentially get to like a Final Four, go on a bit of a run. The other ones I had written down though were Kentucky, because I feel like Kentucky, they're really starting to finally turn it around. They're playing better. They just invested too much in a team like that where there is talent. They just weren't really playing well together. But Mark Pope actually has figured it out, which was like, can he? Well, he has. Yeah. So like I think for sure that'd be like another dark horse that I would have. Because, confidence is such a big thing. And I feel like they're actually playing confident basketball. And then the other one I had, this is a real dark horse, would be out of the West Coast Conference, Santa Clara. They've been a very good team lately. They're running through the West Coast Conference with Gonzaga, and they actually play each other this weekend. So I'm like kind of curious to see, is Gonzaga like who am I going to take out of that game? Like I think that'd be the team I'd have a little bit more faith in if whoever wins that for sure. Because like if Gonzaga lost, I feel like even more people would be writing them off already. But I like what I've seen out of Santa Clara. I mean, they'd probably have to win the West Coast Conference tournament they could potentially get an at-large. I'm not like fully aware of I think they're projected to make the tournament though, even if they don't. But that was like a real I'm gonna give you an actual dark horse. So Santa Clara.
Okay, I kind of went in the similar vein. For in my Nebraska tier, I went with Louisville, because I think I talk about how there's this, where I worry about a team's front court, and you have to have this defensive floor, but also there always is a team every year usually that the guard play just takes them over the top and they just get hot, and they're who cares about their front court? They're just knocking down so many threes, they make a run. The example I always like to use is that Miami team that made the Final Four in Houston a couple years ago.
That's a good,
they're all small. I think Omir was their biggest player, and he's 6'8", 6'9", but he wasn't he wasn't a real rim protector. But they had a real ceiling with that Miami team because they were just all guards, run and gun, let's go. And then when they had to go against a team like UConn, it's like, oh crap, you got to go against these bigs. So, but Louisville is a team where it's like, okay, they get hot, they're hot. And so that's what I kind of went, and I stayed in the ACC for all of mine, honestly. I didn't go mid-major, unfortunately.
No, they're fine, yeah.
NC State, if once again, they're a team, if I don't love the front court, that's always going to be a problem. But they just if you can get them hot from three on the right day, NC State looks like they can beat anybody in the country. And then on the wrong day, NC State can literally lose to Mississippi Valley State for the women or whatever that school is. They can lose to any team on any given day. So they are maybe one of the most up and down teams I've seen play this year. So I'm rocking with the Wolfpack as well for a dark horse. And then my last one, I feel really good about this one too. And I think I'm going to be one of the only few people that points them out as a dark horse to make a run in March is SMU, the Mustangs.
Okay.
I'm riding with the ponies. Boopy Miller, Jerome Pierre, BJ Edwards, that three-headed monster in the backcourt. You're going to be hard-pressed to find another backcourt that is that explosive and that can all three of those guys can go off for 30 points in a game or a triple-double in a game. And I'm just going to rock with the guard play. I worry about their bigs. Once again, they've gotten eaten alive by front courts, but those guards alone could take them on an Elite Eight Final Four run. So watch out for SMU come March.
Fair enough. I like that. That's a good one.
So it's time.
It's time.
It's time for the KEMBA candidates.
Right.
Last year, once again, preface this. If you remember last year, Cole pointed out Walter Clayton as his KEMBA candidate, and KEMBA candidates are usually the guards that will just put a team on their back and take them all the way to the national title game. And once again, it can still be from a good team. This is where people get it mixed up, where it's like you can still be a top team in the country. It can be a KEMBA candidate. It doesn't have to be from necessarily an 8 seed and everything. So with that being said, Cole Adams, who was your KEMBA candidate this year as of February 13th?
My KEMBA candidate, well, I have 4. Now I'm not claim. I have my 1-1 for sure.
I want 1-1. I want your 1-1, and then I'll give you my 1-1.
All right. So this was tough because I obviously this is the thing that I like am just hanging my hat on from last year. Cause I mean, I said it like before, like, I mean, yeah, they were good, but you know, they really hadn't like turned it on to that level. I think I said that it was the game at Auburn that like, I was like, all right, yeah, Clayton's like that. He actually is like on a different level, just playing style. Cause he really did kind of remind me of KEMBA in a lot of ways. And I even pointed out, like you mentioned just a second ago, that they can be on a good team. You know, you don't have to be doing Shabazz like on a 7 seed, you know, like that's just the odds of that happening are just so low. So my KEMBA candidate I've thought about, I've had like some other guys I've looked at, but I'm telling you right now, if Darren Peterson comes back in March, I mean, like who else are you going to take on the floor? You know, I just feel like that he's just on such a different level scoring wise that I just think that he could get Kansas to a national championship. And that'd be my pick, man. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
I would have put. I had a different player that I was gonna say is like minus 1,000 that you were gonna pick as your KEMBA candidate. I'm shocked you went Peterson.
Yeah, I know that was like, and I've thought about this because I'm like, eventually I'm gonna come on here with you, and I know we're gonna do that again. And I've thought about it, and I'm like, I just feel like Darren Peterson would probably be my pick. And there's other guy. I mean, we can get to him once you get through your guy, but like, I just take him above anybody. I feel like if we're like drafting players in March Madness that can go and score like, you know, or win a game for a team, if we're not talking about like a big, I mean, he'd probably be my number one pick. So I just felt like a logical conclusion.
Yeah, especially from the guard play and everything. And I don't hate. I want to point out, I don't hate it. I just, my brain almost didn't even allow myself to go there with Darren Peterson in this exercise.
Is that like a cop out answer? Is he too good of a player? Because I mean, I can.
No, I
he's gonna be the number one pick probably. So
I'm okay. I'm still okay with it. I went kind of with the classic KEMBA role with mine.
Okay. Sure.
My KEMBA candidate this year is Christian Anderson from Texas Tech. I'm in love with him. I love this guy. He is so freaking talented. And what threw it over the top for me was how he responded to that Duke game. Guys like JT Toppin and everybody and their mother was in foul trouble in that game for Texas Tech. And he single-handedly put that team on his back in Madison Square Garden down 17 points and won that game against one of the best teams in the country in Duke. He can do it in the big moments. He hit the big shot in that game against Duke. I feel confident with him in the clutch. He's won big games. He's done it against great competition all season long. He's playing like 40 minutes a game at this point too.
Yeah.
He is so talented.
Be in his hands. Yeah.
He gets everything going for this Texas Tech team. I think people are overlooking this Texas Tech team because I think they do play down to competition sometimes. And I also think they've been lacking in the front court with injuries and everything. And I think that'll find its way back and they're going to get healthy and things are going to be fine defensively for them going into March. And I think Christian Anderson, I think he can just go into a game, absolutely put the team on his back and win in March. And we even saw it last year in the tournament from him as well.
Yeah.
It's like he's had a history of doing this in the tournament. And we had it last with Walter Clayton the year before. Like we had seen it a little bit. So
yeah. There's usually always a sneak peek. I mean, even like with KEMBA, I think that they made the 2009 Final Four. If I'm not mistaken, that KEMBA did. And then, 2010, then 2011, they went and had their run. So it's like even kind of something you creep up towards. Because like even Walter was great at Iona, so that's a great pick. I mean, my guy, his name is Christian Ojiak, and he loves Christian Anderson, man. Like he has been talking about Christian Anderson every single year. That's his like number one favorite player in college basketball, and he covers college basketball. So it's like that's a great pick. In fact, he wasn't on my list, so I love that.
Both those Christians are my guys. So
yeah, exactly.
This is a Christian podcast, but yeah.
Okay,
Christian Anderson, man.
Yeah,
I absolutely, he is going to, and I think they're going to go get really hot here to close the season. And man, I think he just goes on an absolute tear in March. Let's get to some of the other candidates right now. I'm sure most of these will be somewhat similar. The guy I thought you were 100% taking was Kingston Flemings.
And that's my two. That's my two. Yeah, he would be 1-2 for me. I just feel like Darren's like on a little bit of a bigger level than him, where he could actually because like with Clayton last year, the dude would not miss in like the Auburn game. So it's like I just feel like Darren can be that. Where I don't think Kingston's great. He's electric. He really reminds me of Derrick Rose. Like just can take over a game. Like and just he controls everything for them and he gives them. Houston's finally got their guy where it's like they've got their NBA pro that they've never really had and a very unselfish, awesome freshman. But he's my two. It was tough. That was really tough.
Yeah, I feel like I think people are going to be pointing to like I don't. Does Braden Smith qualify? If Darren Peterson qualifies, I guess Braden Smith technically has to qualify at this point. But at the same time, like I don't know, Braden Smith has been to the national title game. I couldn't quite go there with him. Kingston Flemings was on my board as well. Michael Brown from Louisville.
Oh yeah, that's another great one. He's awesome. So that's a good one.
Who else did you have on yours?
I had my 1-3 would have been like my Darius Acuff.
Yeah, I had him as well.
Yeah. And then my 1-4 was the guy I started out the year. I'm like, yeah, this is my KEMBA candidate for sure. But they've slipped up, and I'm just like, I'm not sure how this team is really playing at the moment. So I'm just like too nervous. Is LeBaron Philon.
Yep.
Philon was my guy. I'm like, back in November and December, I'm like, all right, I see the vision. But I don't know. I just don't think there is a good enough team to get to like that stage where I'm, with Acuff, Flemings, and Peterson, I could see all those getting to the Final Four. So,
yeah, and I've brought this up before too, that I think the college basketball gods are just shunning and putting a curse down on these teams that are bringing in G League guys mid-season. Like BYU bringing in Abdullah Ahmed, they've struggled in every big game they've played. Baylor, Scott Drew's having the worst season of his time at Baylor at the moment, bringing in James Najee. And then the worst of all, the most egregious one was Bediako coming back to Alabama, and the college basketball gods are like, no, we're done. Like Alabama, we're going to make sure Alabama is not a national title contender and everything. The Bediako stuff pisses me off too, because it's like he gave up his eligibility. It's not like I see it a little bit more with these other guys where it's like they skip college entirely. It's like, no, you gave up all of your eligibility. Like you played. So,
and that's been the rule since the beginning of time. Once you give that up, it's over. So it's like, yeah, he still has like, he could still get his degree from there, and that's what Calipari, like, he would say for years, yeah, my one and dones, they get a lifetime degree from here. So it's like, they can always come back and finish their degree whenever they want, but like they can't play, obviously. So, and I don't know, man, it's just like, that's just one of the purity and charms of college basketball that sets it apart from other sports that I continue to stress to people. And it's like, if we lose that, that's like one of those things that's like, I can't really argue with people anymore saying that the sport's different. So it's like, I want, rules aren't a bad thing, man. They're not a bad thing.
Nope.
It's structure. So,
finishing up the KEMBA candidates, Xavier Lee is like the wild card one people might point to, and everyone's going to do the, say Walter Clayton, Todd Golden's done it before with these guys, and I'm not anywhere near there yet. LeBaron Philon was on my list.
Okay, Philon was there.
Bennett Sturts probably could make this list, and then I just like Braden Berries a lot, but Arizona's too good around everything, so where I don't think it'll matter. I don't think he's going to have to put the team truly on his back like Anderson or maybe even Peterson will.
Yeah, that's kind of how I looked at it too, because I'm trying to find somebody that actually like. Basically, how I look at a KEMBA candidate is who's going to hit that shot that no one else can hit to win a game, and that's where I was like, all right, I think Peterson is a little bit ahead of Flemings on that. And it changes year by year, like. I don't want to pick the guy that's going to be the number one pick probably in the draft, but I'm like, it just makes perfect sense for how it's aligning. So that's
this clip could come back to bite you though if he's like, it's round of 32 and he's like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, dude. Like, no, we'll see.
Anyhow, we'll see. Let's finish up some games to watch this weekend on Saturday. It's a pretty decent slate for Valentine's Day. Next Saturday is the unbelievable slate. Kansas, Iowa State, I think is fascinating. Iowa State's a 5-point favorite on KenPom right now. over under in 141 total right now. Games at Hilton. I love Iowa State in this game. I think this is a clear letdown spot for Kansas. I think there might be a bit of chemistry issues bringing Peterson maybe back in. Maybe he doesn't play. Maybe he does play. I don't know. I don't necessarily care. I think that's kind of irrelevant. I just think Iowa State, coming off the TCU loss, clearly they were looking ahead to Saturday, looking ahead to College game day. I think Iowa State comes in here, and I think they actually kind of roll Kansas, to be honest.
Yeah, I would probably agree with seeing like Iowa State win that game. They need some of these. So that's a very big one that I think they can get for sure.
Yeah. Kentucky, Florida, I think is fascinating
that was my big one on the game to watch.
Because you look at the SEC standings, and it's so funky to me in the SEC this year because we're talking about Kentucky, how they're so down. They were, they were going to be a bubble team at one point in the season, or on the outside of the bubble, honestly.
For sure.
And now we're talking about this Kentucky team as, they're one game behind Florida in the SEC standings. They play them this week, and they play them to close the season. Like Saturday might honestly determine who's winning the SEC.
Oh yeah, that's a very big game. It's at Florida, but like we'll see with Kentucky. Like they need a prove it game because they still haven't really had like their marquee win. Like they're beating teams and playing well. And I mean you could say the Arkansas game, but like I don't know. I feel like even this one would be really big for them. So yeah, that's a very good one. Here, I'll mention one. So I'll take next on this. I got Gonzaga, Santa Clara. Like I mentioned, that's on Saturday. I'm excited to see that one because it's like. I kind of already brought that up earlier, but who's going to take control of the West Coast Conference? Is Santa Clara really for like legit? Is Gonzaga going to turn it around because they've just been slipping up lately? So that was one I want to mention.
In Santa Clara, like we were doing our bracketology show on the Field of 68, where they are roughly around like the last team in. If you beat a team like Gonzaga and you get these opportunities so few times in the WCC, this is such a great chance. And
I could safely put them in, honestly. So
I think Santa Clara wins this game, if we're being honest.
It's at Gonzaga, so I'm very excited for that game. I'll be watching that.
We've got Virginia, Ohio State, and Nashville. They're trying to do their, the Michigan Duke thing on there. But I love it because Ohio State, if you're Ohio State right now, you're Jake Diebler. You're like, this is unbelievable. We have a chance to play a neutral site game against Virginia, and we can't we have a chance to true quad one big time game to put us on the right side of the bubble. Like you got to be so happy with your AD and whoever scheduled this game because this could be the difference for Ohio State getting in or not making the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's a huge game because it's like, is Bruce Thornton going to miss the NCAA tournament his entire career at Ohio State? Like that might be the greatest player to ever like play college basketball and miss the tournament every year,
especially
in the modern era.
And not at like a mid-major, just at a Power 5 school.
Yeah, Ohio State has the expectation they should be good. Like it's kind of unacceptable in some aspects, but
we've got Texas Tech, Arizona, and Tucson. Arizona coming off the loss against Kansas on Monday night. Very curious to see how that one turns out. But the sports books love Arizona. They're a 10-point favorite in this game. So
wow.
So
I don't know about the 10-point favorite. That's a lot.
Yeah, and then Duke Clemson on Saturday. Duke's an 11.5-point favorite in Cameron Indoor.
Yeah, I don't know about Clemson still. It's like they win games. But
Brad Brunell, someone mentioned this in the TikTok comments as well, is like Brad Brunell should be in line for Coach of the Year as well because this Clemson roster, their leading scorer is RJ Godfrey, who can't take a shot outside of 2 feet.
I know.
Cole, he's their leading scorer, and he's a 14% 3-point shooter, and he's averaging only 11 a game, and yet they're 20th in the country. They've won 20 games already. They're at the top of the ACC standings along with Duke right now. Like what he's doing right now is unbelievable. But I think Clemson's like true ceiling is win one tournament game, and that's it.
And and that's what I love their fans for. Their fans they're great on Twitter because they're all about like just having fun. They're just happy to really be there. And I think that's Clemson basketball. Hey, we're not going to go to the national championship game. We might lose to a mid-major team, but you know what? As long as we're good, we're happy.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's really no reason they should have been like this good this year. They should have taken a step back, and they just haven't.
No, this was supposed to be a big-time rebuilding year, and yet they're kind of exactly where they were last year with a more talented roster. And it would be so funny too, because like I think this way about Duke as well, where like if Clemson were to win a game in the tournament this year, just think like that Clemson team last year was so much better, yet you lost to McNeese. And somehow this Clemson team that is much less talented achieved more than last year's team somehow. And then I kind of feel that way about Duke, where it's like last year's Duke team is the best Duke team I've ever seen. Even I don't care they didn't win the national title. It's still the best Duke team I've ever seen with my own eyes. And yet this year's Duke team could absolutely win the national title and achieve more than what the last year's team did.
That's like literally crazy. The Kansas thing, like in 2022 when they won the national championship. That was not Bill Self's best team ever, but it was just a team of guys that, were veterans and they had been there for a while, and they just ended up getting some breaks go their way, and they make a championship game and they ended up winning it. So sometimes that's just what happens. It's never your best team that wins it. I swear, man.
Yeah. I had one more game written down. NC State Miami, just fascinating ACC game, but that's for the ACC sickos out there. So
yeah, we'll see about Miami, how good they can potentially be. I mean, they're playing a little bit better. But I'll say this one for you. How about this on the Missouri Valley on Sunday? We got at 6:30. Belmont and Murray is at Murray State, and Belmont is the top team in the Valley right now. Murray State they'd been like really good earlier this year. They've kind of slipped up a little bit, but that's a very big mid-major game for the Valley. The Valley's like, that's one of those conference tournaments that anything can kind of happen. There's like 4 good teams that are all at the top, but I think Belmont's like, if they can make the NCAA tournament, that's a potential. I mean, I was going to mention it earlier where we were doing like the upset or Cinderella teams. I think Belmont could for sure be a team that could pull off an upset. So that was one I wanted to get in there too.
In the Missouri Valley, I think they have the best mid-major title game because it's on CBS, maybe it's because it's Arch Madness and everything. But
it's also here another thing. It's a week before the selection show, so it's like your first real test or taste of March, because it just has the presentation and all of that. So
yeah, the Missouri Valley. I mean, it's better. Like, I feel like the Missouri Valley title game is more memorable than even like Big 12 title games.
I think you make a very solid point, honestly, because I feel like there's just been some past ones that I really remember. I remember, I think it was Northern Iowa. They hit like a game-winning shot, and it hit like the back of the rim, and it bounced up and then bounced in. This was like 2016, I think. But it's just such a special tournament, the Valley.
Yeah, and then the Robbie Avila heartbreak, and
yeah, man, that's why I'm excited for St. Louis this year, because I think there's some magic with that team. So.
But hey, man, we're almost there.
I know, man.
This season's flown by.
I know, it's scary. I mean, we are recording this on February 13th. Like March Madness, I think, or I saw a graphic today. The Final Four is 50 days away, and then I think that we're already like a month less than from the bracket coming out. So it's like it just flies by. So enjoy the rest of the road, man.
It's especially with these freshmen right now, how good they are. Because breaking news: the next year's freshmen, they're not going to be this good.
No, this is a very generational class for sure. I think that's why we're seeing these NBA teams tanking.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a whole nother discussion. But anyhow, Cole, thank you for hopping on, man. Everyone, if you're listening right now, you probably already do, but make sure to go follow Cole. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. I know you're going to do your March Madness breakdown once again. So one of the best videos every single March. So make sure to go follow. He'll get you ready for the March Madness, and we'll have him back on plenty of times before March Madness. And
I'd love to be back on.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. And we'll see how these KEMBA candidates turn out this year.
I love it. Make sure to follow. Make sure to subscribe at KarterKast on everything. Download SeatGeek. Use code KarterKast. $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required at SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app today. Use code KarterKast. And we will be back. We've got college basketball show next week. Some NBA stuff we're doing on the YouTube channel. So make sure to tune into that. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.